In the trunk, you're gonna need this hook right here, so grab that. And also you're gonna need the wheel lock key. Use the hook tool and remove these caps. Just slides in like that. Take the wheel lock key, put that in the lock. And use a 17mm socket. Take that out and take the other lug nuts off. The last one out, and then grab the wheel and slide it off. Take these two caliper bolts out. Use a 13mm wrench. If the stud starts spinning, then just use some pliers. Just prevent it from spinning while you take the bolt out. And just take that out. And just grab the caliper. And just slide it out. Just like that. Now, because of the brake cable, it's kind of gonna hold the caliper from falling. You can just push it back here a little bit. If you want to, you can use a brake caliper hanger and try to hang it from somewhere, but just make sure there's no tension on the brake hose, which we're good. Take the brake pads off. Take these two caliper bracket bolts out. Use an M14 triple square. And take those bolts out. Now just slide the bracket right off. Take this screw out, use a T30 socket. When you take that out, the rotor should just slide off. If it doesn't, you can use a hammer and just tap on those areas. Pop this cap off, just use a small chisel and a hammer. There we go. This bolt should be replaced when you do this job. This bolt is extremely tight in there, so if you take a punch or a hammer, if you feel confident enough to just give it a bunch of taps right there, give it a tap, it's just going to loosen it up a bit. Take a triple square, you're going to need an M18 and a long breaker bar, and you may even need a pipe for leverage. Just be careful. Yeah, it's moving. Once you get it started by hand, then you can use a gun. And grab the bearing and slide it right off. Take your new hub and slide it on very carefully. Take your new bolt. Now torque this bolt to 133 foot-pounds. And then you want to tighten it an additional 180 degrees. If you don't have a torque angle meter, just keep in mind where your pry bar is, where your breaker bar is, and just spin it a half turn. There we go. And put the cap back on. It's good. Then take some anti-seize. You can either use the brush on or the spray on type. Just give it a nice thin coat. It's good. And install the rotor. Line this hole up with the threaded hole. Put the screw back in. And just snug it up. Slide the bracket over the rotor. And put the new caliper bracket bolts in. Now we're going to torque these bolts to 66 foot-pounds and then an additional 90 degrees. If you don't have a torque angle meter, do the best you can. You could always mark the socket and turn it an additional quarter turn, and that'll get you the 90 degrees you need. Install the brake pads. And slide the caliper over the brake pads. And install the bolts. And with some pliers to hold the stud from spinning, torque these bolts to 25 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to reinstall the wheel. Make sure you have one of the lug bolts and a socket. Put the wheel up. And get the bolts started. Now I'm going to torque the lug bolts to 89 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Just go around and double check. I'm going to take the key off, and the cap that is just a circle, use that one over the lock and put the other caps on. And put the key back and also the hook.